Bonjour à tous et bienvenue à ma chaîne YouTube. Today on my workbench I have Alan's Breckwell brand Pellet Stove Controller. Alan sent me this controller because he was having an issue with it where it fed continually. The green light here would come on, and so would the green light behind the faceplate, indicating that there was a fault in the timer circuit. I received this controller, put it on my workbench, and initially I saw the problem. But then while doing troubleshooting, it never reproduced itself at all. It was very difficult. So I had it on my workbench for a little over a week, cycling and running, and I didn't see any instances where it reproduced itself. Until today, when I found that the controller once again demonstrated the problem it was having. So I took some time to do some troubleshooting work on it. I believe I found the issue. I replaced the rotary switch with a new one, and since then it's been functioning fine. So it's time to do final tests on it. As you can see, I have Alan's controller on my test system. My test system, as always, is made up of a faceplate which actually holds the controller itself. It also holds an actual auger motor behind here. We see the 4 screws that hold it in place. The shaft from the auger motor comes out the front, and I have an X marks the spot decal on the shaft so that when the controller is calling for the auger to drive, you can see that in your video. You'll probably also hear it drive in the audio of the video as it's being driven. I also have 4 light bulbs at the rear, and those 4 light bulbs simulate different functions of your stove. The first one in white simulates the igniter. The next one in blue simulates the combustion fan, the firebox fan. The third one in yellow simulates the auger motor. That's the one that when the auger motor here drives, we'll see that light bulb come on as well. And finally in red at the far end, we have a light that simulates the convection or room fan. For this controller, it has the capability of turning on a hot rod element system, which is an auto igniter. But I sense that on Alan's stove, that feature is not enabled because that feature was disabled when I received the controller. So we'll test it here, but I'll disable it one more time when I return it to Alan. My tester is powered on, so let's go ahead and turn power on to the controller, and we'll see that the combustion fan and the convection or room fan has come on. Ordinarily, the convection or room fan would not come on by itself on your stove when you power it up, because inside your stove is a thermal switch that controls when that fan comes on and off. On my test system, I have that thermal switch bypassed, so we'll see this light on all the time based on the setting of the rotary switch here. We're currently in manual mode, and there's a few things we can check while in manual mode. One of them is the manual feed button. That's a momentary push button. When I press that, you see that the auger motor light comes on, you hear the auger motor spin, and you see the X mark the spot decal spin as well. What you do not see is a little light behind the faceplate here come on, because that is controlled by the timer, not the switch. 2 completely independent circuits. So that's functioning correctly. The other thing I can check is the high fan speed. We're currently in low here, so if I press the high fan speed, you see that the light intensity increases, which means the fan would be running faster. So that's functioning as well. I'll go back to normal. Finally, the last thing I can check here is the low BCD max switch position, which increase the fan speed. As you can see, that is working correctly. As I say for all the controllers of this type, positions D, E, and max are the same. That's hardwired on the circuit board. There's no changing it, D, E, and max. We see the light might blink, but the intensity stays the same, versus C, which makes it a little lower, 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 and as dim as it gets. That's hard to see in the video, but it is changing the intensity of the light bulb. So on the manual side, this controller is functioning quite nicely. Let's go ahead and switch to automatic mode, and to do that, I press on the auger button here. There's a couple things that I need to tell you before we do this. One is when I do that, that will start a timer inside the controller, and that timer determines when the first automatic auger cycle takes place. Second, when I take my finger off of the auger button, we'll see that the igniter lamp will come on, telling us that the 10-minute igniter cycle starts. So let's go ahead and do that. As I press, we get a quick cycle of the auger motor. The green light up here has come on, and as I release, we see that the igniter has come on. I've pre-checked this already. That igniter will stay on for approximately 10 minutes, so that circuit is functioning correctly. So now we're just waiting for the first automatic auger cycle to work. It'll be quite short. There it was, fairly short. Let's wait for that again. So there's a long off period and a short on period. Keep an eye out for that. Just there it is. Short on time, long off time. If I switch the switch over to max, as I rotate through, we see that the auger does not drive. There's my first long cycle. Notice the difference here. I'm on max now, so the auger drive cycle is shorter, but the on time will be longer. Let's wait for another one to happen. There it is. Long on time, relatively shorter off time. So just to check, next time it goes off, I'll rotate through the positions here and we'll make sure that the auger motor stays off. So there it is. So I'm going to rotate through the positions and notice that the auger stays off. That's correct. That's exactly what I expected to see. Long on time because I'm back at max. So there we have it, Alan. Your controller is fully functional once again. I want to thank you very much for your patience and for sending it to me for troubleshooting and repairs. I appreciate that very much. If any of you viewers have a pellet stove controller of your own, whether it's a Breckwell brand, analog or digital, Quadrifire, USSC, or others, and you have a service need for it, please feel free to contact me. I'd be more than happy to speak to you about that. In the meantime, I do hope that you'll take a few seconds to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I would appreciate that very much. Thanks everyone. Bye-bye.